get in your car, you open up your navigation system, whether it's Google Maps or Apple Maps or some onboard system, and you begin to head to your destination. And then you begin to wonder, am I headed in the right direction? Been here once or twice, and this just doesn't really look right anymore. And then you worry your GPS is taking you astray. You open up your mobile banking app. You have all of your bills being paid automatically, but have you ever felt the need to just make sure they're actually being paid on time? You get on the back of a motorcycle. You feel the bike accelerate, lean into a curve, and you realize that you've accepted a social contract of risk. My name is Purkhiser. I'm a design researcher who studies people's emotional experiences so that we can help designers create better experiences with technology. And I'd like to continue to talk about some of these experiences we have in our daily lives. Most of us have traded human interactions with businesses and services for digital ones for lots of reasons. Convenience, efficiency. But when I think about tension with technology, I think about opening up that GPS app and wondering if I'm headed in the right direction, rather than talking with a friend of mine about how I should get there based off of their personal experiences, using their landmarks to guide my way. And then I think about opening up that mobile banking app and wondering if my bills are being paid on time, rather than walking into my bank and talking with my teller about the status of my account. Both of these are digital experiences I've traded from human ones for reasons like convenience and efficiency. But then I think about a situation like with a little more risk, like getting on the back of a motorcycle. Being a rider myself, I have an opinion of how the bike should slow to a stop or accelerate, how it should take the line of a curve, all of which when I get on the back of that motorcycle, I no longer have any control of. I have these personal expectations for an experience that I have no input into. All I have is the trust that that rider, or in our focus, the autonomous vehicle, will meet or exceed my expectations for that experience. We're currently in a mobility boom. We're all collectively dreaming about the potential of these autonomous vehicles, how they're gonna save us on fuel, help us avoid collisions, how we're gonna be able to focus on something other than the road on our daily commutes. But right now, technology is driving these experience developments. And experiences are emotional. We focus so much on how these systems and products function that we're forgetting that how things work and how things look build how we feel about them, creating our emotional responses to them. And so, in order to get this right, we have to have the emotional experiences line up so that it can meet our expectations. Because when we meet these autonomous experiences for the first time, there will be a moment of truth where you ask yourself, do I desire this? And so if the industry doesn't land it, and you get in one of these vehicles and you feel really uncomfortable, are you gonna be able to have all these benefits you've been dreaming about? Will you be able to fall asleep in a car if you're worried about being injured during that ride? Currently, mobility is about freedom. We know from our research and expertise that if you get into a vehicle and you feel aware and in control, you ultimately feel empowered and free. So if you know what's going on around you, you feel aware of the road, and you feel in control of that vehicle, it responds to your needs, you have this sense of freedom and empowerment. And that stems from today, when you get in a vehicle, it responds to your actions. You turn a key, press a button, shift the steering wheel, and the vehicle's behavior shifts. Tomorrow, when you get into a vehicle, it will no longer respond to all of your actions. You won't be able to tell it what to do. You'll only be able to understand how and why it is doing something, allowing you a sense of awareness, but depriving you a sense of control. It will be how these vehicles act that will give you that awareness and control that you need to trust the system. And so currently, according to Pew Research Center reports that fewer than half of Americans would willingly ride in a driverless car, mainly because they don't trust them to be safe. So what could be supporting this distrust? Unpredictability and ambiguity are universal experience killers. When you have an opinion of how something should work, like I do when I get in a car, and it doesn't work that way, or you don't understand why it's working the way that it is, it breeds unpredictability and ambiguity. Would you feel comfortable in a situation that you're unsure of what's going to happen in the end? I feel like my car should be changing lanes. We should change lanes about now. Why isn't it changing lanes? Do you trust that experience? This next thought, judgment versus rules, you may or may not be thinking about. For those of you in the audience who are interested in artificial intelligence, it's being discussed a lot, but for the rest of us, it's not really being talked about. And this is the idea of the balance between judgment and rules. As humans, we feel people are good at making judgments, and technology is good at following rules. So what happens when you get into your vehicle and it no longer just follows rules, but it makes judgments for you? And what happens if you don't agree with those judgments? Does that build trust or fear and frustration? And so, the future of mobility is not technical, it's emotional. And we're in the center of the world's attention. The Smart City Initiative is working on using devices in cars to connect them together, to be aware of what's ahead of the road, so that drivers can be aware of potential collisions. They're working on using camera technologies in the Coda bus system to connect them together to help bus drivers be aware of potential bus-human collisions. And they're working on using connected electric autonomous vehicles to get riders to Easton. So it's not a question of when you'll have these autonomous experiences. It's a question of, will you like them when you do? So in order to land this and get the emotional experience right, we have to look at it from all facets. What will it look like to be a pedestrian, a cyclist, a motorcyclist? What will happen if you walk out in front of one of these vehicles? What will happen if you change lanes abruptly? What will it look like for those of us who actually enjoy driving vehicles? And how will our infrastructure shift, our signs, our pavement markers, our stoplights? It will be how these vehicles act that create an emotional result, whether we're considering it or not. We need to be cognizant of these emotional experiences as these technologies continue to flood our vehicles. And we need to be looking at how you feel during these interactions to shape these experiences. And we need you to question why if you don't feel right. So when you leave tonight and you get in your car, whether you're a driver or a passenger, I want you to think about how you feel on the road. And then I want you to think about how you want to feel in the future on the road. Because ultimately, you are the ones who will decide how these vehicles and their surrounding technologies will be integrated into our society. Thank you.